Okay, so we have moved on. Welcome to The Lion, the Witch, and the Narcissist. We've moved on, guys. We've gotten, so my brother is now officially moved in. I think this is part 5. So the narcissist is now officially, got my brother in her clutches. He's in the house. He's living with her. There was a few instances where I felt like there was, her just trying to basically manipulate things. I don't know. It was just strange. So I really didn't see my brother now for, he moved in July, I would say the beginning of July 2014. And I really didn't see him again for quite a while. I mean, the next time I saw him, there was a couple of times that he had called me to hang out. And one of those times, I remember he came over my house and he called me and asked me what I was doing. And, something was going on. I had to go run some errands and get, my son was a baby at the time. So I remember I was running some errands. I had to go probably get diapers and stuff like that. So I had to go a couple of places. So he comes in the car with me. And I'm talking to him, and he's just weird the whole time we're talking. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, he's really quiet, just not really saying much, And finally, we get to Target. And I'm talking to him, and he's not, responding to me in the car. That's what I meant to say. So we get to Target, and I remember all of a sudden, his phone rings, and I hear him pick it up. It's her. He's on his phone the whole time. Again, we're hanging out. He's on the phone. There was a couple of times like this that we were together with him, and he's on the phone, and he's not talking, and he's not paying attention to anything you say. He's not responding. This was the third or fourth time we've all witnessed it. My mom, my husband, we've all witnessed my brother being like this. So this time, he's on the phone, he's real weird. He answers the phone in Target, and I could hear he's annoyed. I know my brother sounds like, hello, like that, just, really being, short. And he hangs up the phone, and I turn and I go, what's the matter, man? What's going on? And then he let it all out. And this was a couple of weeks after they moved in together. I don't even think they were living together a full month by this time. And he was like, she's so bossy and, she's really emotional and she gets mad over the littlest things. And he's like, and then she'll ask me to do something and I'm doing it. And then she's breathing down my neck and criticizing me. And his exact words to me were, I feel like I'm living with daddy again, which was my father, which my father was one of those people. You were doing something, everything you did was wrong, wasn't being done the right way. And I was like, oh man, that sucks for you, because I would never want to fucking live with anybody like that again, and he, so he started complaining. They got in this fight, some with the daughter, I don't even remember, some bullshit fight, but he was like, she started throwing dishes and screaming and slamming things, and he's like, it was something her daughter, she was mad at her daughter, the daughter didn't do her camp project or some shit. And she got mad at the daughter, and then she took it out on him, and it was just then she left my brother. They were supposed to go out. My brother ran some errands, and then he comes back, and she's gone, and then she's not answering her phone. So I guess, she finally called him back when we were together later that night, and he was like, I don't know what to do. He's like, his friend invited him out. He's like, I don't know if I should go. I was like, dude, go out, go have a couple of drinks, chill out. And all of a sudden he's like, tells her that he might go out. And she tells him, if you go out, you'll see what happens. I won't be home tonight. I'm going to go out with my girlfriend. Fucking real bullshit, man. This girl, keep in mind, guys, that this girl was 38 at the time or 39. She's almost 40 years old and very immature. What was the other thing that happened? There was some other... Oh, she went away. This was a couple weeks after they moved in together. I guess she had already made plans to go to Puerto Rico or something with her girlfriend. And she posted a picture on Facebook. And my brother calls me up. It's midnight now. And he calls me up and he's like, it's a picture of her at a bar surrounded by like 10 dudes, and she's kind of like sitting on their laps, like in a sense. And I mean, listen, my brother got pissed. I don't blame him. I would have been fucking annoyed too if my, significant other is away, surrounded by guys, especially if they're a really jealous person, and and they have this picture and they post it on Facebook. I mean, that just makes you look like a fucking asshole. So, my brother, I guess, said something to her about it, and then she texts him back, and she's like, "We have to have a talk when I get home." And my brother was getting all fucking scared, all worried that, she was going to kick him out of the house. And I don't know if she said something like, something's not working. And I was like, I didn't like that night, because I was like, that is a control thing, man. She's away on vacation. So now she's going to keep you fucking scared. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. All he did was question why there's a picture of her sitting on these dudes' laps, And she turned it around on him and then made it like, well, I'm going to kick you out of the house, because you're questioning me. It was pretty psychotic. My brother was like, we were on the phone until like 3:00 in the morning. He didn't know what to do, so there was a couple of things that really worried me early on. A lot of fighting too, So my brother comes to my house now one day, and this is now, I get the whole timeline fucked up, but I think it was in September. So now they have only been together since March. So we go March, April, May, June, July, August. Not even 7 months, really. 6 months. And he comes to my house, and every time he shows up at my house, I'm just like, oh, fuck. What is it going to be now? It's always something crazy. Comes to my house, totally unannounced. He just shows up at my house, and I'm like, what, And he's like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to ask her to marry me. And I just did not, my reaction was so lame. Like, I was just like, oh, okay. My reaction was so, not into it. Like, I was just like, oh, all right, like, I was like, oh, well, that's good, At this point in time, I knew he wasn't working. And, I was just like, where did he get money, to buy a ring for this girl? Because we had, like, in detail discussed his financial situation, So anyway, I was like, oh, all right, that's great. And he's like, yeah, and by the way, he's like, don't tell mommy. First of all, don't tell mommy that he's getting engaged. Also, don't tell mommy that she's been married twice before. And I'm like, what? I didn't know that. I knew she was married once. I didn't know she was married twice before. So I was like, all right, that's a little fucking weird. Why does she not want my mom to know that? So I was like, well, what happened? What was the first husband all about? And he's like, oh, I don't know. She was young. She wasn't young, because we could look up marriage certificates, which of course I did, because, this girl's shady now. It's just like shady, weird things just kept piling on. So I was like, all right, I look it up, and I'm like, holy shit, this girl, she wasn't that young. She was like in her mid-20s. So to me, that's not that young, So I'm like, now I'm getting concerned. I'm like, this is going to be her third wedding. Wow, that's a little concerning. So I don't think I had the reaction. So I'm like, when do you plan on doing this? So he's like, well, tomorrow night. Like, I thought he meant like in a couple of weeks. No, like, he was ready to go. He had the ring and he was ready to go. And I was like, oh, all right. And he's like, well, don't tell mommy. And I'm like, oh, listen, me and my mom talked about everything. And there was no fucking way I wasn't going to tell her. Just for the sheer fact that at this point in time now, neither one of us is like, feeling this girl. And I'm not going to be responsible for my mom having a heart attack. So, of course I told her to act surprised and whatnot. And they got engaged, and he didn't end up telling my mom for like another week. Because supposedly she wanted to tell her mom first. I don't even know. Who gives a shit, really? So Now they're engaged, and I'm so, worried. I mean, me, my mom, my brother, at this point in time, there's been enough red flags and stuff that's gotten us all to the point where we're like, there's something up with this girl. There is something up with this girl. She is not fucking right in the head. There's been enough things. None of us were crazy about her. None of us really cared for her. We didn't see my brother. You just seen he just wasn't himself when he was around her. There was he seemed very like serious and quiet and almost like he didn't want to talk. He was just not himself. That's the best way I could explain it. Things started to definitely go downhill after the engagement. That's when everything just started to completely go downhill. But I mean, as far as our relationship goes. So they get engaged and he doesn't tell my mom. And I congratulated him. I mean, I said congratulations. I mean, but it just wasn't, I don't think he was, I think it was, he could sense it, because he kept saying, I know you think it's too soon and I know you think it's crazy. And, it's just that we're older and we know what we want. She's been married and, I know what I want and she knows what she wants in life. Like the things that were coming out of his mouth, I felt like it was her explanation for wanting to get married so quickly to him. That's how she convinced him to get married so quickly. Because I just want to tell you guys something. My brother, when he got engaged with his ex, right? They were talking about, they were together 4 years. It took him 4 years. And he knew he wanted to marry her after like the first year, but it took him an additional 3 years to get like an engagement ring. And when he did, oh my God, listen, girls who are listening to this, you guys know what I'm talking about. My husband bought me a beautiful, gorgeous, amazing ring for my engagement. It's, my ring, and I'll tell you guys, I have no shame in my game. It's a carat, my diamond. That's it. Nothing crazy, but it's a very high quality diamond. So it's almost like perfect clarity. And then I have a bunch of other diamonds. It's not really a pave setting, I wouldn't say, but whatever. It's got a halo, and you girls know. You guys are probably like, what the hell are you talking about? But, so, my ring was pretty penny. My husband gave up his dirt bike for my ring, which is, that's a sacrifice there, because he used to compete. Whatever. So, my brother bought his ex this ring that was... It was less than a half a carat. And he had, I think knowing my brother, he could, he was making decent money. He could have afforded a better ring for her. Number one, I think he just rushed. I think he, he kind of just went and got it and didn't bring me and my mom along. He didn't spend that much money. And listen, that's not what an engagement is about at all. If my husband would have got me a crappy ring, yeah, I might have been a little disappointed about the ring, but that's not really what it's about. I didn't have a wedding personally, so, I'm not that girl. I don't need a lot of stuff, but the ring, I love my ring. I wouldn't trade it in for the world, but, that's not what it's really about. But I feel like with my brother, he just kind of failed on that one, with the ex. So, whatever. I don't even know why that's important, but... So, he did the proposal now, and then, he didn't tell my mom for a couple days. I don't even know where I was going with that ring story. Sorry. He did the proposal and he didn't end up telling my mom for like a couple of days. And this was like kind of fucked up. I mean, he was aware of the fact that everything was like kind of soon and that we were going to be shocked. I mean, he said it to me, so I would think in my head, he would sit my mom down and, they would talk to her face to face and I don't know, maybe go out to dinner to tell her, or just go by her house and hang out for a little bit. Like, this is kind of shocking news, Oh, that was the point of my ring story. That, here it was, like, you're somebody who took 4 years to get married, engaged to somebody who you supposedly wanted to marry for the, after the first year. And now you've only known somebody a few months, like half a year, and you're already getting engaged. I mean, it's kind of shocking, from, for us outsiders. So he called me up one night and he asked my mom to go to her house. And he hadn't been in my mom's house in months at this point in time, which was very, unusual because he used to go to my mom's house all the time, just like I do, So that was, it was a little weird. I think my mom was a little upset about it. So he says he's going to come over on like a Thursday night. for the last 17 years of our lives, probably more, my mom has gone out on Thursday night with her girlfriend, one of her friends. And, you know, we just kind of know for life, like for the last 20 years almost, you know, don't ask her to do things on Thursdays because that's the day she goes out with her girlfriend. Since, like, they used to go to Weight Watchers, now they just, I think, met up and went shopping. And, you know, they just had this thing, and they did it every year for the last 12 years, you know, 17 years. So, you know, so then he says, oh, you know, can I come Wednesday? And my mom had to work. She was working, you know, my mom worked 2 jobs. And she was like, well, you know, Wednesday's not really that good. So he calls me up, and she said something like, oh, you want to come over? Wow, I haven't seen you in so long, you know? She made a comment about not seeing him for a long time. So he calls me up now one day, and he tells me about this whole story that my mom, like kind of made a remark about them not coming over. And he goes, you know, what do you think if we just stop by at her job and, you know, tell her? And I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, that's like how you would tell a friend. You know, this is your mother. Like, go to her house and hang out with her at least. Don't just like come by like a fucking pigeon and like, you know, drop the fucking information and then just fly away, you know, and let her be like, oh my God, what the fuck was that, you know? So I was like, I don't know if that's such a good idea, but I mean, if you guys want to do it. I mean, he called for my opinion, so I gave him my honest opinion. And I'm sorry if it wasn't what he wanted to hear, but that's, you know, don't ask me for my opinion if you don't want an honest opinion. And so I kind of told him it was fucked up. And then he told me about the comment she made about him not, you know, coming to the house. And I said, well, I think what she meant was like in the past, she used to see you more often. Kind of like meaning like when you were with your ex, you guys used to hang out more often. So he had me on speakerphone in the car, and I could tell because you could just tell the way you kind of get that little bit of feedback in a sense. So I was like, oh man, he's just like fucking blowing it. So whatever, it ended up my mom didn't have to work that night, and they went there and they told her. And she had like something happen. I think one of her aunts died or something, and she had to go to the wake that day. So she ended up not working that night. So they ended up, you know, telling her eventually. So now it's, I'm trying to think what happened. Oh, so here's like the little thing that happened before everything just went to shit. And I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to end this video in a minute. But what happened was, when he did tell my mom, he sent her a picture of the ring, and he sent her, you know, so tacky, so cheesy. He like put rose petals out and like spelled out, will you marry me on the bed? It's just so lame to me. That's so lame. But I'm just not, maybe it's just me because I'm not like one of those types of girls who use that kind of shit. So it's a little, I'm like, ugh, please. But anyway, so, you know, he sends my mom a picture of the ring. I didn't see the ring. He came and told me and then never showed me the ring. And I'm sorry, I have a vagina and I want to know what the ring looks like. So my mom sent me a picture. It was a gorgeous ring. It was like a cushion cut. I think, you know, diamond where there was no halo. It was just a solitaire with, you know, diamonds around the band. And it was a really, really, really beautiful ring. And it had to be at least like 2 carats or 3 carats. Because I could, you know, just in the picture, I could tell it was way bigger than mine. So, I know, you know, of course, I was like, shit, where do you get this money from? You know, like, wow. But anyway, we think that she bought it, but that doesn't even matter. So I texted him, and next day, and I told him, you know, oh my God, Mommy showed me a picture of the ring, and it's beautiful, and, you know, I was just like, where'd you get it from? And he told me he had it custom made, and I was like, really? Like, who does that? He told me it was a Tiffany replica, and that he had it custom made. And I was like, oh, really? Like, where would you do that? I didn't even know you can do that. Like, take a picture of a Tiffany's ring and then have it replicated. So he goes, he doesn't answer my question. So I think I asked him one more time, like maybe in another conversation. I was like, where'd you get the ring? Like, where would they custom make that? And all of a sudden, he calls my mom up. I get a phone call from my mom one day, and she goes, stop asking questions about the engagement ring. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, you know, my brother called her up and like tried to make it like, oh, you know, I'm being nosy and I'm trying to get information about the ring. And, you know, I didn't even ask him anything, which I think, and you guys, I don't know, let me know. Tell me in the comments below. Is it normal? Isn't that kind of normal questions? Like, as a girl, as a female, to ask. And even if I got a little more nosy, like asked him the cut and the clarity of the diamond, which I didn't do anything even close to that, those are kind of normal questions coming from females. We want to know about jewelry. They don't say diamonds are a girl's best friend for nothing. That's not a saying for just no reason. So I don't know why. So I told my mom what I said, and I showed her the text, and, I sent her screenshots, and she was like, oh, that's all you did? What the fuck is he bugging out about then? And I was like, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So we think that, she was mad. My brother told my mom she was mad that I was asking questions about the ring. And I'm like, I'm trying to make conversation and show some kind of interest in this, even though I thought it was the most horrible decision he ever made in his life. But I was trying to just, show interest and, whatever. And, from that point on, it became fucking blatantly, neon sign pointing to you, obvious that she did not want me around. And so I'm going to cut this video off here. Please, you guys like and subscribe, please. Put some comments down below. Tell me, if you guys have any similar stories. And we will be back in the next part to talk about the real big thing that happened, where everything just kind of took a dramatic turn.